Hello, it's Miss Lytle here with another day of narrative writing. And today we are doing session 11, Ending Stories. So, for the past several sessions, you have been doing a lot of revision work. And what we've been focusing on is remember the heart of our stories. What is the story really about? What is the true big meaning? And we've been doing that by focusing on the structure using our story mountain. We've been elaborating on the important parts that relate to what the story is about, stretching those important parts out so the reader can slow down. And we've also incorporated scenes from the past or the future to highlight the significance of our story. So we do this because it helps go back to the meaning. But today we're going to go and we're going to look at our endings. And you're asking, Miss Lytle, why are endings important? Well, let's think about when you've gone to the movies. And let's think about a movie that maybe didn't have a really good ending. And maybe you were thinking, that was a total waste of time. Why did I just spend 2 hours of my life watching that movie? Or you think, um, how, wait, why, what? It doesn't make sense, and you're just, I don't get it. I don't know. How did that tie to the beginning? I don't get it. So it shows us the importance of leaving the audience with just the right words. And guess what? Just like in a movie, you have the power to bring your message to life with words you choose to leave on the page. So that brings me to today's teaching point. You can write an ending that leaves your reader with something big at the end. Writers often think back to what they most wanted or struggled for in their stories and ask, what is it I want to say to my readers about this struggle, this journey? They write an ending that shows this. And so when we go to look at our endings, we want to sometimes think about in our mind, what are some different ways maybe I can end it? Because we always want to think about the big idea. And before we get to the end, we want to maybe resolve problems, we want to teach lessons, or we just need to make some changes that tie it back to the big meaning and also tie it back to the beginning. And so I know you're asking, Miss Lytle, how do I do that? Guess what? We use strategies we've already been using in class, like these. Do you remember these? Yes, these are the same ones we've used. Sometimes we can slow down the action, telling it bit by bit. Sometimes we can add dialogue. Sometimes we give details, or we show small actions, or we can add internal thinking. Those same strategies that we use for elaborating, we can use in our endings. How exciting is that? You already have the knowledge to add the power to your writing. So let's see how Mrs. Hitchcock did this in her writing. So we're going to look at her writing without the complete ending that she added. So this is when she added her flashback. And let's see if it sounds like it has a good ending. It ties it back. Last year, I was reading aloud from Mrs. Hamill's class at Hickory Elementary School. I could see sweat rolling down the cheeks of all of my students, so I walked to the window while still reading and with one hand tried to open it. The window didn't budge. Even after I put the book down and heaved, the window remained stuck. Then Gary jumped up, joined me at the window, saying, "I'll help." Soon 4 others were beside him, and together we heaved at the heavy window. The class cheered as the window rose, and we felt like a victorious team. As I walked back to my desk, I couldn't help but think about the field day just a few weeks before. It was the tug of war challenge. Our class versus the class across the hall with kids who are much bigger and stronger looking than us. Before we put our hands on the ropes, we huddled together. I told the class we can do anything as long as we work together. We cheered and smiled as we walked to our rope. We worked together and won. I'll always remember the sound of our cheers that day. Working together, we were victorious then as well. Okay, so does it sound good? It sounds like a good story, right? But let's look at it. Let's ask ourselves, does it tie back to the main idea? Yes. Well, it does talk about remember what Mrs. Hitchcock was focusing on, her class and teamwork. It is talking about teamwork, but did it finish the story? Did it go back to the beginning and tie it back to where she started it from? Look at it. In the first paragraph, she started it in present, and this is her flashback. Wonder if she added to it. Let's look at her revision. I'm going to start it a little into the story. So, the class cheered as the window rose and we felt like a victorious team. Then her flashback. As I walked back to my desk, I couldn't help but think about the field day just a few weeks before. It was the tug of war challenge, our class versus the class across the hall with kids who are much bigger and stronger looking than us. Before we put our hands on the ropes, we huddled together. I told the class, we can do anything as long as we work together. We cheered and smiled as we walked to our rope. We worked together and won. I'll always remember the sound of our cheers that day. Working together, we were victorious then as well. Now let's see what she did. The sounds of the class cheering snapped me out of my thoughts. I looked around at the smiling faces of my students and felt the warm breeze from the window on my face. Just remember, I said, we can do anything when we work together. Does that sound more complete? Does that make you feel more satisfied? Just like when you watch that movie and you're like, oh yeah, that was a good ending. That told the whole story. She brought it back to her class and what was happening at the time. And then what did she use? Do you see the strategies that she used? I'll give you a second. I see small details. I see smiling faces. And guess what else I see? Dialogue. Do you see the quotes? She's speaking. Simple. She only added a few sentences and some small details in dialogue, and she was able to finish her writing and bring it to an end, and an end that stayed true to the main idea, the heart of her story. So, writers, you get to create that powerful ending and bring your message to life. So today, you're going to open your virtual writer's notebook. You are going to think about a small moment narrative that you have started where the ending maybe drops off, doesn't show what it's really about, maybe doesn't go back to the beginning. Add today's date to begin your entry, and then revise your narrative to bring your story to an end and helps tie it back to the big meaning of your story. If you have time, make additional edits we've been working on. But first, work on that ending and really tie it back to the big meaning. All right, writers, off you go.